So I had heaps of interest from people about a tutorial for this cute little line drawing I created in Procreate. So I'm going to walk you through those steps now. There's a few things you'll need for this tutorial. So the first thing you'll need is Procreate, obviously. It's available for 15 Australian dollars from the App Store. I'm not sure about other devices. I only own Apple, so I can't tell you if it's on the other ones, but hopefully it is. You also need an Apple Pen or a stylus. I'd really recommend getting one of those. It's just so much easier than using your fingers, but you can try and use your fingers if you want. You also need, obviously, a photo of your fabric. So when you're taking a photo of your fabric, just make sure you have taken it in a good lighting. So this fabric that I've actually used on here, this print, is actually a photo that I took of the fabric. It's not something I've taken online, but you could also just take it from online if you want to as well. But I just took it from the fabric. And the last thing you need is the line drawing itself. So obviously you could just draw something and do the same process. But if you want to do what I did and use the actual line drawings from the pattern to see how it will look, you just need to grab a screenshot of the line drawing. And it doesn't matter if it's a bit blurry because we're going to trace over it anyway. So let's jump. Okay, so you'll need a kind of blank canvas. So I just have this one here. Doesn't really matter what size you do. It's completely up to you. So the first thing you want to do is we want to insert the line drawing. So we're going to come up here to the spanner, click on insert a photo, and then choose the photo. So I am doing, surprise, surprise, a Poppy and Jazz pattern. This is the raspberry romper, purely because I really want to make another version of this for Isla, my little niece. So I'm going to use that for today's tutorial. So once you've got that inserted, you can make it bigger or smaller. Like I said, it doesn't matter if it's blurry because we're going to go over this anyway. So we want to click on the arrow again to stop the dots. And then we want to create a new layer. So this is going to be kind of our sketch. So we come up to these two circles, two squares here, and click on the plus sign and create a new layer. Now I'm just going to rename this and call it line drawing. Okay, so now what we're going to do is grab our pen. I'm just using like a scripty pen, but you could use whatever you want. And mine is set to 5%, the size. So just over here on the left-hand side, you can change the size, and mine's at 5%. So now what you want to do is you want to trace over the outside lines. So don't worry about these gathered lines for the minute. Just focus on these outside lines, and we'll come back to the gathers once we've done that. Okay, so now we've done all of the outside lines, I'm going to drop my pen size down to 3% and just really roughly do these gather lines. Obviously these aren't quite as important as the outside lines, but they're still good for showing more detail and giving the pattern more flow. So once we've done that, we are going to come back up here to the layers and just turn off our layer 1. Which is our inserted image, and just make sure we haven't forgotten anything. You want to make sure that there's no gaps in the outside of this because we're going to fill it with color. So anywhere you think there might be a gap, make sure you fill that in. Now we're actually going to duplicate this line drawing because we're going to need it again later. So I'm just going to slide to the left and click on duplicate, and I'm going to call this line drawing top, and I'll show you in a minute why we need that. So we're going to click back on the original line drawing for a minute, and we need to actually fill this in because what we're going to do is we're going to create something called a clipping mask. So a clipping mask essentially means that anything we put on top of this, this drawing here, it will stay within the line. So you don't have to like go ahead and, erase all of this stuff here. It automatically stays within the lines. So what we're going to do is we're going to fill it. Obviously, don't fill it with black. If you've outlined in black, choose another color. So I'm just going to go with this khaki, and I'm going to drag it and drop it. Now, if your whole screen fills up with color, that means that there is a gap in your lines. So make sure you go and fill that in. So I'm just going to put this color wherever the print would go. So that's there. So that is all done. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert the fabric. So I'm going to go insert a photo, and then I'm going to insert my fabric, which is this one here. So you can see that's the top layer. So this is the line drawing top, and then this is the inserted image and the line drawing. So what we're going to do is we're just going to pull this one underneath for now because we don't need it for the minute. And we're going to click on where the inserted image is, and we're going to click on clipping mask. And you'll see what it's done here. It's made it so that it automatically goes within the shape. Now, obviously, my fabric, sorry, is not one big rabbit like this. So to make it a little bit more realistic, what you want to do is click on the arrow and just bring the size of that fabric down to something kind of similar to what it would be. So I'm just going to bring it down. I'm not sure why, but this fabric is getting a little bit liney the smaller that I go down, so I'm probably just going to keep it a bit bigger. Okay, so now that I've done that, I can move it over, and you can see that it just keeps it within the line. So it doesn't matter where I put it, it's always going to stay within those lines. So I'm just going to pop it here. This is going to be really easy because this pattern is so small. The dress was a lot more complicated. And actually, the way that I'm showing you now is slightly different to how I did the dress because I found a better way after I'd done it. Anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to come back to layers, and we're going to duplicate this inserted image. So we're going to slide to the left again, click on duplicate, and that's given us another image. So if we click on the arrow again, we can now move this over, and we can just keep doing this for the rest of the pattern. Obviously, it's not going to line up as nicely as it would if we were actually making this pattern, but you can, try your hardest. So I'm just going to duplicate this again. And click on that one. It's actually a lot better if you can do this smaller with your fabric. So with my dress, it actually, if I just bring that up quickly. So if we look at the dress from a distance, you can't actually tell where all the joins were, and I made that actually really small. So if I zoom in, you can see that there are some lines here, but you can't really tell from a distance. But obviously with this fabric, it's a little bit different, and it doesn't look quite as good as what it could. Anyway, I digress. So I'm going to do this one more time. I'm going to duplicate and then bring it over. Now, what I think I'm going to do is, because the bunnies are upside down and that's really annoying me, I'm going to come back to the first one, click on that, and then I'm going to swap them around. Okay, that's better. So it doesn't look quite as good as my dress did, but anyway, I digress. So the next thing we want to do is we want to come back up here to the layers, and we're going to bring our line drawing top back up to the top. And you'll see when we do that, so I'm just going to hold down and drop, it automatically brings those lines back on there for you. Now, when I did it in the video that you would have seen on Instagram, I did it completely differently and had to erase all of the line drawings, and it was a nightmare. I didn't do it properly, so this is just a lot easier to do it. So now, as you can see, we have a really cute little pattern with the bunnies, and then so I came back over here to the side and just did a little hashtag raspberry romper. Now you can see it's kind of picked up some of the bunny, which is a bit funny. I will fix that up later. I just need to move my bunnies over a little bit, but you get the gist. So anyway, that's how you do it. I hope you found this tutorial useful. Make sure you tag me if you use it on Instagram, and I can't wait to see what you do with it.